Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today I'm going to be doing a Planetside 2 weapon review on the Vanu light machine gun, the Pulsar LSW. Now there's a lot of machine guns that you can upgrade to. I've tried a few of them. The Orion is the basic machine gun, which is not a bad machine gun when you start out, but what might inspire you to get a new gun? You know, if some of the base guns are actually quite decent, and some people might not even want to upgrade beyond the basic gun. So what does the Pulsar LSW offer that perhaps the Orion doesn't, and why is it better than some of the other machine guns out there? Let's start off by looking at the basic damage stats of the Pulsar LSW. It does 143 damage per shot, which is very much in line with a lot of the Vanu assault rifles and carbines out there. So it's not necessarily heavy hitting per shot. The rate of fire is 698 rounds per minute. For all intensive purposes, we'll just call it 700 round per minute rate of fire, which is definitely respectable, but it's not quite as high as the basic machine gun, the Orion, which has a 750 round per minute rate of fire. It has a magazine capacity of 75, which is good for taking out 3 to 4 opponents, even if you're not being that accurate. And it also has a very good reload time, a short reload of 3.2 seconds and a long reload of 4 seconds. The long reload is pretty much negligible with this gun because I cannot even remember a time where I actually fired down to the very last shot of this thing. You have enough ammo that you will run into situations where you're just going to have enough time to reload. Very rarely do I have that zero shot. I almost always switch over to pistol if I'm ever that low on ammo and there's still enemies around. Now, why is that 3.2 second reload so good? Because it's on carbine and assault rifle level, so you can reload this thing really fast and you never run out of ammo when you're in a firefight. If you want to compare this to other faction light machine guns, take TR for example. None of their machine guns have a short reload time lower than this, or even equal to this. Their lowest reloading machine gun time is 3.4 seconds. The NC only has one machine gun that reloads faster than this, and it only has 50 bullets in a magazine. Everything else reloads longer. So the Vanu have some great fast reload times on their LMGs, which just allows you to really play a little bit more aggressively with your reloads in close quarter situations. You don't have to sort of back off, find a good place for cover, and then reload. You can really just kind of back around a corner, hit the reload button, and re-engage in 3.2 seconds. Now let's take a look at this gun's recoil. It has a pretty high first shot recoil. In fact, its first shot has more recoil to it than most other machine guns out there for the Vanu. However, beyond the first shot, once you're firing and you're keeping that sustained fire, it has some of the lowest recoil out of any of the LMGs available for Vanu. So basically, if you can just compensate for that first little bit of a kick once you start firing, your sustained fire after that will be incredibly accurate, and you will find yourself able to drop opponents at medium and even longer range using this assault rifle. Specifically, one of the best things about the recoil is that it has a 0.3 vertical pull and a 0.3 horizontal pull to the right. Now you'll notice in the stat sheet that I have linked in the video description, which has all the gun stats on it, that some of the weapons have an equal sign between left pull and right pull. That means they pull equally to the left and the right. Now you might think, well, that's pretty good. That means it's ultimately going to center itself. So it'll pull a little to the left, pull a little to the right, but ultimately it'll come back to the middle after time. Well, that is accurate, but the problem with guns that pull equally to the left and the right is that you cannot compensate for that. It is extremely hard to try and compensate for equal pull on left and right. In fact, I think it's pretty much impossible. If you have a gun that only pulls to the right, like the Pulsar LSW, then you can compensate for this. If you fire this gun at the wall, you will watch it pull up and to the right. You can then simply compensate for that once you're used to the gun's recoil, and you can be much more accurate while sustaining fire. Now, what I like so much about the Pulsar LSW is its versatility. It's not the highest damaging machine gun out there for the Vanu. The Orion can outdamage this gun. The basic machine gun that you start out with actually has the highest rate of fire at 750. It does have a small magazine though. It's also not the most accurate gun at range or the most damaging weapon at range. There's the Ursa, which does more damage at range, and it has a more accurate cone of fire from your first few shots. So that's the way you want to go if you want to go for only long range and targets. But what's great about the Pulsar LSW is that it really finds the best balance of both worlds. You can be absolutely devastating in close quarters, and you can still wreck people at long range. You're not going to be the absolute best at either of those, but you're going to find a really happy balance. And I find that in shooters in general, but Planetside specifically, you need weaponry that is suited for both long range and close quarters and medium range. You need guns that can handle themselves in any situation. If you outfit your class just for one specific scenario, the chances of you running into that scenario and being best suited for it are very low. You just got so many long range and close quarter situations in Planetside that you need something that can handle itself in all of those, and that's the Pulsar LSW, finding the best balance between all of those combat situations. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know how much I value versatility in a weapon, and that's usually how I define some of my favorite weapons, is just their ability to adapt to new combat situations. So say you agree with me and you go out and buy the Pulsar LSW and you're loving it, but you want to take this gun to the max. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to customize a weapon's performance. You can increase its hipfire accuracy, you can reduce its side-to-side recoil, you can put different kinds of sights on here, flash suppressors, suppressors, whatever you want. You can really modify this. So what do you think you should put on this gun? I think the most important upgrade decision with this weapon is whether or not you want to run with a foregrip or a laser sight. Now, the laser sight is going to give you the better hipfire accuracy. If you find that you're in close quarter situations more frequently and you just need to hipfire more often just because you don't have time to aim down sights, or you're just simply too close to make aiming down sights effective, then go for the laser sight. It will work well with this gun. If you find yourself aiming down sights a lot and aiming at targets at medium and longer ranges, then go for the foregrip. It'll reduce some of that side-to-side recoil, making it easier to control, and you can sustain your fire for longer bursts at longer ranges. Personally, I decided to go with the foregrip just because I really like using the heavy assault at medium and long range scenarios, and in close quarters I found no problem with the hipfire accuracy. I usually only hipfire this thing when it's 5 meters or closer away from my opponent, and at that range I find that this thing drops people just fine. But if you really want to extend the range at which you can be effective with hipfire, you might want to try the laser sight. Now, as for barrel modifications, sometimes I run this gun with the flash suppressor on here. Not the suppressor, but the actual flash suppressor. And I equip this when it's nighttime just because sometimes the muzzle flash of this gun can kind of get in the way. I often forget to take it off during the day, and you'll notice in some of these clips, like this one for example, it's not really making much of a muzzle flash when I fire the thing. I find that at nighttime the contrast between the big muzzle flash and your opponents can sometimes make it really hard to keep your aiming on target, and the flash suppressor will really allow you to keep sustained fire on a target and not lose them in the fray. It will, however, make you a little bit less accurate while aiming down the sights, so I recommend having a setup for both nighttime and daytime to be most effective with this gun. Now, most of the light machine guns out there seem to do at least one thing better than the other. Everyone has its own little specialty here and there. If you're confused about what kind of gun you want to upgrade to, or you're just not really sure what kind of playstyle is yours, go for the Pulsar LSW. Its versatility is going to really allow you to figure out the way that you like to play and still have a great gun while you're doing that. Ultimately, you might decide that you really just want to engage people at really long ranges, and so you might go for a different LMG. Or you might decide that close quarters is the way to go exclusively, and you just want something that dishes out the most damage as fast as possible, so you might stick with the Orion light machine gun. But overall, I think the Pulsar LSW is possibly one of the safest and most logical upgrades to get from the start if you're really not too sure what you want to do. So that's pretty much it for my guide on the Pulsar LSW light machine gun. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.